everybody, and welcome to Break Time Conversations, a YouTube channel where I have conversations around education. I have been a teacher almost all of my life, and education fascinates me. And along this journey of mine, I have met so many interesting and inspiring people. And so I decided to document my conversations with them here so that everyone can hear their stories and the amazing work that they do. I'm here today with Amritha K. She is part of the founding team and now Chief Operating Officer of Stone Center, an organization dedicated to promoting the understanding and application of applied behavior analysis through various services for children with autism spectrum disorder or other developmental disabilities and their families. And Amrita and I also had the pleasure of working together as volunteers for the Let Us Dream conference. And that's how I first met Amrita. Welcome, Amrita, and thank you so much for being here.
Thanks, Anupa. It's definitely a privilege to be part of your channel, and I admire the amount of work that gone with your school and the legacy that you're taken it from your dad as well. So thanks for welcoming you to my channel, and thanks for the lovely introduction also.
Thanks, Amrita. So, when I was reading about what you do and what Stepping Stones does, one thing that really caught my eye is about early intervention. So, I would like to start off this conversation by asking you, why do you think early identification of developmental details is so important?
Yeah. Thanks for asking me that. Um, so before even I go into that, I would like to want to highlight because for many of the people, I'm sure that you would be having young parents watching this channel as well, and they would want to have some key takeaway from this conversation, right? And I would want to throw some limelight on what is autism. Okay, it's basically a neurological disability, and we are looking at three main, I would say, three main indicators when it comes to autism. So, children, when they fail to have a proper eye contact, and if there is a delay or a lack of speech or a language, because of which they end up having a lot of behavioral issues. Okay. So, these are some of the key prime factors that you look for a child with autism. Of course, it's a big spectrum, and no two child are same when it comes to a spectrum, right? But as young parents, it's very important for us to look into our child's development. So unfortunately, what happens in a country like India, wherein we go for all your medical tests and all your evaluation, I'm supposing like our parents are super enthusiastic today, and they would, and I even see like dads going for all the regular medical tests, right? Most of the times, like in all these examinations, it's the physical growth which has been given prime importance about your height, your weight, your circumstance, your head circumference, and all these things. Some of the ways in I also see that this development is something is being ignored, or it has not been paid much attention to. And this happened with me as well. Like by the time I came to know about what autism is, and while I got a opportunity to be part of the founding team of Stepping Stones, my daughter was already like 10 months old. And I was not aware of things of this nature. So I think it's very important for young parents to be aware of, as you look into the child's physical bond, the developmental is very, 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 very essential. Okay. So we all know that anything that started early will always have a huge impact, right? And for any child, for that matter, even for human livelihood, all much of your development happens between the ages of 0 and 6. And post that, it's more of more of your maintenance, I would say, right? So those 6 years are very critical in a child's life to acquire the maximum skills that the child is able to get. Okay, as we know, the child grows chronologically. The child is also expected to have certain development in areas like your language acquisition, your motor skills, your cognition skills, etc. So what happens, the more we delay the intervention, the bigger is going to be the gap, and that becomes very harder for even for a professional or even for a parent to look into it, right? So early identification and early intervention is of course the key to help children with autism and also give them a very meaningful life.
Thanks, Amrita. Thank you for that clear explanation. And I love how you say that no two children are alike on the autism spectrum. And I would like to say that even among so-called normal kids, they're also
Exactly.
no two children. And I think as teachers, as parents, as educators, we need to really recognize this, right? I mean, like we
Yeah.
try a one size fits all kind of approach for everything.
Yeah.
We compare. That was really nice. And I love how you mentioned about awareness. And you were talking to parents, but when I look from the school side of things, like I with a regular mainstream school, and awareness there also, like they just call everybody slow learners, so
Mm-hmm.
they have no
Yeah.
awareness as to what autism is. So I think we really need to mm, do more. People like you
Yeah.
really need to do more and help people like us to, who are those of us who are in a regular mainstream, tell us how to, raise this awareness. That'll be great. So we can come to that later. um,
Sure.
you also were talking about the role of schools of in
Yeah.
facilitating an inclusion program. So would you like to share your thoughts on that, Amrita?
Sure. Why not? And see, let's be very clear here. Like, as I said, like no two child in autism are same. Of course, you are 100% right. Like no two neurotypical children, neurotypically growing children are same, or no two even individuals are same, right? So I strongly believe. So our main mission is to, I would say, like to have an inclusive environment around us, and it should be very conducive, right? And I believe that that kind of an attitude can develop from a school. School is such a powerful place wherein like people break all barriers, like socially, culturally, like even from education backgrounds, we all wear a uniform. So which means like we are all same there, right? In a school environment. And I strongly believe that everyone is good at something, and all children should be given equal opportunities there, right? Yes, of course, I do understand that there is a gap when it comes to the awareness part among our school teachers. I won't blame them because I think there's a lot of other factors around it, right? Like even our education system, I would say, like when teachers undergo teacher training program, there is only a slight awareness of about autism and slight awareness about developmental delay. So what happens, like that teachers are not equipped with enough information with them, right? I would say like they're not being empowered with whatever information that they need to have. So we basically work with schools. In fact, like that would be my first engagement with any school for that matter. I would say we conduct a workshop more on awareness. We talk about what are the early signs of developmental delay and how a teacher can play a significant role in a child's life, right? Especially to identify that very early. And I'll tell you, Anupa, like even with my daughter, this happened a couple of days back. I was asking her to do one assignment. I asked her to complete it like on time. She never took my word seriously. Okay? She went to the school. The ma'am said, "Okay, you know what? Like it would be good, like if someone completes it on time." Like she came home, made sure that the assignment has been submitted on time. See, that's the power of a teacher, right? She gets like she can read students' mind, and she exactly is there. So my main vision, I would say, like in fact, like I like to work a lot with teachers than parents, because like teachers, they carry the learning for generations after generations. They're going to impact like 30 strong individuals like each and every year, right? So I think it's our of course it's our duty to empower a teacher and educate the teacher as well. When it comes to the school, I think there are a few challenges when it comes to and having an inclusion program. It is not it's not easy to say so, I would say, because what happens when you have a child with autism in your classroom, the teacher's attention is pretty much gathered to that child. So what happens, the remaining the children are not being attended, that becomes a huge difficulty too. So that should be a balance in which like you can maintain this, right? And of course, like you need to have a right set of infrastructure for children and right type of professionals too. So it has to go hand in hand, I would say. Like paraprofessionals like us and the school and the parent, they have to go hand in hand in this vision, right? It is not just like one person like voicing it out, of course. And I'm sure that there are like a lot more schools which are open forward to have inclusion. So let's hope, let's wait and see like how it goes
Yeah,
further.
I think even the NEP is talking about inclusion, right? So I
Yeah,
think it will be
yeah,
something that everyone is going to be talking about soon. So,
true.
but when it comes to inclusion, I totally believe in it because I also trained to be a special educator, although now I'm really not pursuing it. But I would love to make the schools that I work with inclusive schools. I know that training of teachers and having professionals working along. You mentioned about infrastructure. So, do you think it will also be a financial burden as such on a school if they have to become an inclusive school?
Not really so. I think there are certain tweaks that we can be done to our physical structure. Especially, say, for example, if you have to make your school inclusive for all nature, like physically, neurologically, there may be like you may have to have some few ramps for your accessibility to your restroom, your accessibility to classrooms, and maybe certain tweaks to your playgrounds, right? And let me also put it in this way. So inclusion is not something that's going to help only children with special needs, right? Inclusion is going to help children who are typically growing as well, right? Because like think about it, Anupa, like even a small characteristic like an empathy, which is very difficult to define. You can't give an abstract meaning. It's a very abstract word. You can't give a definite meaning to the word, right? But these type of skills can be taught to a child who's typically growing when the child is being raised in an inclusive classroom, right? That's what we're trying to achieve. So it's not just for this population, but in fact, like I would say, like there is even a study, there's an exciting study which says like children who are raised in an inclusive setting are much more empathetic and they get a lot of values when compared to children who have some special needs. So in that way, I'm not sure, like I will never say that it's a financial burden to school. Of course it's going to even in the society, it's going to give a uplift face value for the school when you say you are an inclusive school, right? And that's going to put you on a very different perspective when it comes to parents. And thanks to COVID, it has had a huge impact on our children, right? Like we are going to meet
Yeah,
children like after 2 years time.
yeah.
uh, so it's going to be very hard for teachers like you to see like and to assist children where they are really,
I
right?
know. Yeah, that's right. Thank you for that. It's encouraging to hear that financially, because I know that COVID has also hit schools financially as well. So, going back to the topic of awareness, I know awareness of parents is important and awareness for teachers. So, how can regular schools, like I know teacher training is one thing. How regular should it be? And to raise that awareness and to make everybody on the same page, so to speak.
Yeah, yeah. It's an excellent question, and I always believe that inclusion is a vision which has to flow top down, right? The management of a school or someone who's running the school should have this kind of a vision to drive the people to do it. Of course, it's a very big effort, okay, but the institution should come from the top down. That's what I strongly believe in. Of course, like conducting workshops, conducting awareness program, inviting special guests to your school who have been in this space, that's an excellent way in which you can spread this awareness among your community, okay. And of course, like another way is also to start something that's very small, maybe like starting a small resource room, experimenting with I would say like facilitating with few children on board. And maybe because when you have that physically in your school, that makes it even more powerful, and teachers do get an access to look into see what's happening. Because many of the time I've interacted with teachers in regular mainstream school, the moment I say like a child with special needs, they get scared, okay. And they feel like it needs an extra superhuman effort to work with children, but which is not so, right? You of course like my children are also typical and they are very special in all other ways. It is just like we need to understand like how to communicate with them, all right. So in that way I think taking that one small step, which is very huge, makes a very big difference in a school,
Mm,
right? And
that's a
also
great.
like one other thing when you were also saying before our conversation when we started, you was talking about like teachers like start labeling children like slow learners, which is something that I'm not very favorable of, right? Um, that's also, Anupa, that's also because of the lack of awareness, right? It is becoming so a casual word these days. I see you teachers using the word what to say, aggressive or ADHD, like so casually, right? But it has got a lot of big meaning in it, right?
I
So
know. We
maybe,
tend to use these words, no, like depression and OCD. We tend to just use it so casually, but we don't
yeah.
realize that there is so much more to it. It's not just a word, right?
Yeah, it's a lot of, it's a lot of sensitization when you work with children with special needs. So
Yeah.
and I would, that's something that I urge in all my workshops to teachers. I would say, like, let's be very sensitive before even we use those kind of words. In fact, like, we train teachers on how to do this kind of a counseling with parents. As I said, like, teacher is a very powerful person in a child's life, and he or she can do wonders with a child. It all depends on like how the teacher wants to take it forward.
Yeah, I know. Teachers are so important. And I love that. Thank you, Amrita, for that wonderful tip of just starting a resource room. Just start small,
Yeah.
have one or two kids. And I think until teachers actually see it in front of them or experience it,
Mhm.
it's just going to be words, right? That people are telling them.
Exactly.
Then, yeah, great. Amrita, as we come to the end of our conversation, just want to ask you what wonderful plans do you have in store? Like, I know Stepping Stones have been doing a lot. And what's the next step, especially as everything's opening up? Do you have something special planned?
Yeah. Thanks for asking me that. See, as I said, like, I believe in I believe in inclusion, and that's what I would want to promote as well. Since we understand the challenges, we would want to help schools to facilitate the end-to-end inclusion program. When I say end-to-end, right from early identification, placements of children into the regular classroom, developing an individualized education plan for each and every child, and of course, like, facilitating the child in the classroom, in the regular classroom, along with other peers, right? So we are of course looking for schools which are open mind to work with us on this mission. Even if it is like as small as like including one child, that's absolutely good. We need a small start somewhere. So that's on more on the academia part of it. We also understand there is a big dearth need of certified professionals to work in our country. The demand is so high, but what happens, like, you sometimes, like, parents get off the track with with therapists who do not come with proper certifications, and I by myself have seen that, and that impacts the child on a longer run. So so we are working on a tech platform which can train certified professionals on the science of ABA, and we would definitely wish to make it accessible to graduates who come from psychology, social work, or special education, or parents who are interested to work, or even like mainstream school teachers who are interested to work with children with special needs. So these are two things that I'm looking at in the near future to help and give back.
Awesome, Amrita. All the best as you make these plans. I think that tech platform sounds amazing because I know that there are many more people looking to certify themselves also. So I'm sure that's going to be great. And I will share details of Stepping Stones and Amrita in the description box. So all of you can please reach out to her. And Amrita, thank you so much once again for being here. And God bless you and all that you plan to do.
Thanks, Anupa. Thanks a lot. It was wonderful interacting with you.
Thanks again. I'll see you soon. Bye for now.
Sure. Bye.